Hello and welcome to the Addicts podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today's episode 128, and we're going to be interviewing Evan T. How you doing, Evan?
I'm doing pretty good.
You excited to do this?
Yes, I am.
All right, glad to hear that. So let's get started. Just like I start every other episode, let's dive in and talk about your childhood. How was it growing up?
So for me growing up, I grew up in a single parent home. It was just me, my mom, and my sister. Pretty small on my mom's side of the family. It was my mom, my uncle, me, my sister, for basically our close knit family. And my mom was from what I know of alcoholism now, my mom was probably very much functioning alcoholic. Um, I can remember there was a time I found her. I woke up one morning and I found her in the kitchen with a friend, and she had her panties down, and she was passed out drunk. And so from a very early age, alcohol played was very prevalent. And I can remember even the time when I was 14 where I was curious about like I wondered what a strawberry daiquiri was. And she's like, do you want me to get you some? And I wanted to say yes, but then at the same time, I was raised in the South, and I was taught to respect my elders. So I was like, nah, I don't think I will. Not in front of my mom. That's kind of creepy. So I mean, that kept me sober up until up until I was 18. My mom did pass away when I was 15, and that was a turbulent time. I stayed stuck at that time period. I moved in with my uncle, but I was very much stuck at the point of my mom dying.
If you
Um,
don't
I
mind, if you don't mind me asking, how did your mother pass away?
she passed away she basically went into like cardiac arrest, so basically had a massive heart attack. And she had already 9 years prior to that, she had already had um a heart attack and had a quadruple bypass done when she had open heart surgery. And she was in and out of the hospital a lot growing up. Um, so there was times where especially when me and my sister, I started to get older, that we'd be at home alone and we'd have a next door neighbor to call if we needed anything. And it was hard seeing my mom in the hospital, sick. And You know, I was telling my godmom this the other day. I think my mom knew that I knew a lot more than what she was letting on. I knew that she was sicker than what she was letting on. My sister, I don't think knew. She just knew that my mom was sick and like, why is she always in the hospital? Um, my sister didn't quite understand just how sick my mom was. Literally, she was living basically by basically by the grace of God. God gave her another 9 years. And when she passed, I moved in with my uncle, and I stayed stuck at her death. And so, living there through working the steps, I've come to realize that I stayed stuck at my mom's death. I didn't grieve. I couldn't accept the fact that I was in a new environment. So I didn't put forth any effort to try to live by his rules, to try to assimilate into his family. I just stayed closed off to myself and kind of alienated myself. And I always wondered why they never included me in anything, but I didn't try to put forth the effort to make myself included. Um, and I've come to realize through working my fourth and fifth step that, even though my uncle was wrong for a lot of the verbally abusive things he said to me, if I put forth some type of effort and tried to live by his rules and tried to assimilate into his household and the way he wanted things ran, you know, maybe not, maybe none of those things would have happened. So I have a part to play in it. So, and for a long time I played the victim role, and I was like, he did all this stuff to me, and he abused me and this, that, and the other. And I think that added to the resentment against him. That was one of the biggest resentments that I held for a long time. It's like, he made a bad situation worse. He ruined everything, and it's just it was crazy just how sick my thinking was. And Around I came up for one summer to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to visit my dad, and I already had a plan in my head that I wasn't coming back to Harvest, Alabama, which is right outside of Huntsville. And I talked to my dad about it, and he was pretty open to me coming to live with him. And my family was like, "No, you need to stay here with your sister," and he just couldn't convince me otherwise because if you're an alcoholic or an addict like me, you think you know everything, and nobody could tell me anything. So I struck out on my own, and my dad's schizophrenic, and he had a schizophrenic episode and locked me out of the house. And then I ended up going to stay with my great aunt, ended up getting a place of my own because I was getting a social security check because of my mom dying. And like maybe I'll say maybe 4 or 5 months after I moved into my own place was when I had my first drink. And from that first drink, it was like, aha, I found the answer. Like that like it was like the answer to all my problems, all in a bottle. And from the very start, I was very much a blackout drinker, very much verbally abusive toward others when I drank. Um, would try to get physical with you if you really tried to egg me on or challenge me on anything, and then wake up the next morning and be like, "Oh, I didn't mean any of that," or "Oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do?" And that when my social security check stopped, I ended up going to I ended up going to uh, applying for public housing, and I got on housing, and I thought that was going to be I thought that was going to be fixed. I was like, okay, I'm getting out of this horrible environment around all these people that are drinking. Okay, that's going to be the fix. So you can already see me trying to like basically fix the problem by trying to distance myself or trying to solve it by changing location. But I wasn't changing anything internally. I was just changing the external. Um, so I moved on to Fort Wayne. I moved into Fort Wayne housing, public housing on the north side of town. And I thought, oh, okay, it's all going to be all better. And I remember I hadn't been there 3 days. The guy's like, oh man, hey man, you want to come up to my apartment for a minute? You look lonely, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, sure, I'll hang out with the neighbor. Not 2 minutes after I get in there, he's like, you want a beer? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I take the beer, and he asked me how old I was. I was like, oh, I'm 19. He's like, oh, don't tell anybody. And instantly, it's like from the time I moved in, I was like, I thought the problem was fixed. Alcohol, it always seemed to catch up to me and find me. So moving forward from there, my drinking started getting progressively worse. I was in school. I started I started basically fail certain classes that I wasn't interested in. I started to self-medicate. Oh man, I need to really be able to focus, so I need to drink. And just using alcohol in all kinds of ways I shouldn't have. And moving forward, I stayed there for about 3 years, and then I was like, oh, and I was like, I started working because I thought, oh, I just need to work so I can make more money. But in hindsight, I was basically using that as a justification. I need to work to make more money so I can support my habit and take care of my bills. And so I started working, and um, I was doing all right in school for a while, and then drinking starts catching up to me. So like all my time goes if I'm not at work, all my time starts going to drinking. And I move out of public housing thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe I just need to move by myself and just get completely away from all that alcohol, get completely away from all these people that I'm drinking with, and that'll fix the problem. So I move into a place right around the corner from where I live in. I stay there for about 4 years or whatever. And so, and for, and basically I stay there, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can stay sober. Maybe I can stay sober. And I don't think I may have made it a week. I don't even think I made it a week. And I would find myself right back at the liquor store drinking. And my drinking starts to get progressively worse. I changed jobs during that time because I'm thinking everybody's out to get me. The world's just against me. And I start this new job, and alcohol again catches up with me. A couple of my coworkers drink, and I don't know. I don't diagnose other people as being alcoholic, but they may just be heavy drinkers. But instantly, I started hanging out with them and drinking. And there was a couple times where I'd show up late to work, or I'd show up to work still drunk. I remember there was a time I got pulled over one time, and I knew I was like, oh my God, I got pulled over. And I was like, well, you're serving back there, or whatever. There's a couple people that called and said you're driving erratically. Are you okay and everything? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just running late for work. And I'm thinking, oh man, they're gonna breathalyze me. They breathalyzed me. Fuck, because I knew I was still fucked up. And I make it to work, and I don't get on a center rider or anything, but I'm working the whole night. And, if any of you are alcoholics or addicts like me, the alcohol starts to wear off, and I start to get real shaken. All I can think about, I just can't wait to get off so I can get a drink, so I can get a drink, so I can get a drink. So I get off work, I get off work, and and one thing I forgot to mention during this time period is before I changed jobs, I ended up going to treatment for the first time. And I went to treatment, and
What age were you when you first went to treatment?
when I was maybe 22, 23. No, it was about 23. It's probably about 23.
And you
And
recognized that you had a problem.
yeah, I still very much thinking that if I stop, that all it is, I just need to muster up enough will so that I can just stop drinking. Now I'm realizing that there's a whole, from what I know of alcoholism now from the program, I mean, it's a phenomenon of craving. There's an allergy of the body. All of that's involved. I think, okay, I go to this like detox treatment facility for a couple of days, and I start getting cleaned out. The alcohol starts getting cleaned out of my system because I went there, and I think I was like 3 times legal limit, and I started coming down. I started getting shaky, and I can't sleep. I can't concentrate. All I can think about, oh my God, I need to get out of here so I can get a drink. And so I get out, I get out of there, or I talk my way out of there. And my friend's like, he's like, so he's like, are you gonna stop drinking? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stop drinking. And I don't think that time I got signed up for IOP. I just said, okay, so I think I went to my first AA meeting. And I think I like half got a sponsor. And the first time that he was hard to reach. I couldn't get a hold of him. He gave me an assignment. I started doing it. And I was like, oh, this doesn't work. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to doing what I'm doing. So maybe a year or two passes by. I'm still living by myself and on my own. And I end up back at PBH again. This time I called on myself because I was at a point where I was starting to feel like I was get very down and depressed, and there was moments where I would wish that I was dead, but I was too chicken to do it myself, to just put the gun in my head and kill myself. But I was doing exactly that by how I was thinking. And so I go to treatment. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to really do this thing. And I keep thinking, oh my God, I can't drink for the rest of my life. Oh my God, like, oh, life is gonna be so boring, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, I can do this while I'm broke. As soon as I get paid, I don't think this is gonna work. And I was right. As soon as I got paid, I went right back to the liquor store. It was like I had no will to resist it. And got drunk. I ended up showing to IOP drunk. And from there, the lady that was leading the IOP, we get out of the IOP, and she sits down with me, and she's like, okay. She's like, I'll excuse it this first time, but if you ever show up to IOP again drunk, I'll have to dismiss you from class. And I'm very much on my own. And this is after I caught my first DUI, which was a misdemeanor. Still, and she's like, okay, I want you to go home. I want you to pour out all your alcohol, and I want you to call me every day and let me know how you're doing. So I go home. Reluctantly, I pour out all my alcohol, watching it go down the drain. It's like, oh, what a waste. And I start calling her every day, and I go to a couple more IOP sessions. Still not, I don't go back to AA. I just try to will my way through it. I think I make it a week, 2 weeks, and I get drunk again. And then I'm in shame because I'm like, how did I let this happen? So I stopped going to IOP. I just stopped doing everything. And I just basically, at that point, I just gave up trying to get sober. I was like, okay, I'm an alcoholic. I'm being an alcoholic. I'll just continue to drink and manage as best as I can. And during this time, I started setting up rules like, okay, so I don't get another DUI. The gas station's right here, the liquor store's right here. So if I'm drunk, these are the only 2 places I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna drink and drive and go anywhere else, because if I drink and drive and go anywhere else, then I'll probably get a DUI and it's gonna be a felony, blah, 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 blah. Well, this works for so long. Those rules only work for so long. And the day comes, I come home from work one day, and I got a fifth. I sit there, I drink it all in maybe an hour or so, or I drink all but like maybe a tiny little bit out of it, maybe an hour or so. And I start to get low. And I'm like, oh man, I got to get more. So I'm trying to figure out ways. And then I remember, oh, my friend, he owes me $20. So I call him up. He's like, oh, well, if you come and get it, I'll give it to you. So I get in my car, breaking all my rules. I knew I shouldn't get in the car, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go I need to get this $20 so I can go to the liquor store and get me some more to drink. And I black out on the way there. And all this I'm saying now, I know this now because I read the police reports, because this is when I get my second felony DUI. I think I hit like 3 cars. I get to my friend's house. I hit his car, well, not his car, his friend's car. And the guy's like, oh, well, you just apologize. I won't call the police. I'm like, well, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. There's no like rationalization. I'm so drunk, you can't really reason with me. And so police get called, they come out, and I'm trying to get away and this, that, and the other, but they're already there. So it's no point in getting away. And I'm telling the officers, please don't take me to jail. Please don't take me to jail. And they breathalyzed me. And I think I was either right at or more than 3 times legal limit. And they take me to jail, and I'm fighting the whole way. I get into an altercation with them when they get me down to the jail. So now they got to take me to St. Joe, this, that, the other. And so fast forward to sentencing, I get sentenced in Allen County in Indiana. Once you get a felony DUI, normally one of 2 things happen. You either get placed in like restoration court or veterans court, or you get placed on probation with a program called AADP, where they give you antabuse for however long your probation period is. And so they sentenced me to 2.5 years. I got to do 6 months on the anklet, 2 years on the AADP. And I get sentenced to an anklet. I'm like, okay, good. I'm on an anklet. I won't be able to go get alcohol. Maybe this will keep me sober. Still not getting in my head. I don't know anything about AA or how this is a disease. I just think that, okay, I need the accountability and this will keep me sober. Well, the frightful day comes where I think I was like 3 months dry. I wasn't sober because I wasn't working a program. And the whole week goes by. I'm just plotting out, waiting for the weekend. So because I know I had something to do, and I was going to use. I got 2 gas stops, and I was like, I'm going to use one of my gas stops to stop by this gas station. I'm formulating the whole plan of how to get alcohol on house arrest, and so I come up with this plan. I end up getting the fifth of the wine. I get home. It doesn't even last. Maybe it lasts maybe an hour, if that. So I get done with that, and I'm like, oh, and then when you're on house arrest, you have to call a urine test screen line every single day. So like the next day, I didn't call the next day because I was scared. But then I called Monday. I didn't have to test. And I don't get tested against like that Thursday. So by that time, alcohol's out of my system, or I think the alcohol's out of my system. I'm drinking water like crazy. I went down, took the urine screen. I never hear anything. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm never doing that again. So I make it another 3 months with the whole intent, and the whole intention in my mind. I want to point out, if I can make it through this house arrest, then when I get on AEDP, I'll be on probation. I can manage. I can control the drinking, and I'll make it through the probation. But I have no intention on completely staying sober, just trying to make it through the house arrest. So I get off the anklet, and I start. I may last a week, and I'm back in front of the liquor store again. Start back drinking. I'm on daily reporting. I get caught. They make me sign a probation modification, make me go to Park Center counseling. A couple months go by. I'm not really paying on my fees, not doing this, not doing that. So they file probation revocation. Well, they give me another chance. They say, well, we're gonna give you 90 days, see how you pay your fees. Don't miss any more Park Center appointments. Well, during this time, I'm still drinking. But at this time, I'm trying to control it. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the liquor that's the problem. Maybe if I just drink beer's never been my problem. It's the liquor. So if I just drink beer, I'll be able to manage. Well, that works for so long. So then I get to the point where something happens, and I'm like, fuck, I can't. I get to the point where I was like, fuck, I don't know what to fucking do. So I go back, I get a fifth, drink that, and the only thing that the Enemies does is just basically make me like, as opposed to drinking like a fifth in a night, I'm drinking maybe like a pint in a night and feeling the same effect before the energy starts to kick in, and I can't really drink anymore because it's just making me too like lethargic. And so I drink that all weekend, and the whole time I'm saying I'll drink a little bit and then I'll pass out, I'll wake up, I'll drink more. And the whole time I'm saying, okay, Saturday night I'm stopping. And for some reason, this time I just couldn't stop. Once I got started, I could not stop. And I didn't stop until it was gone. So I get done around, I'm like 9 a.m. Sunday morning. I'm like, okay, if I just drink a bunch of water, hopefully by Monday evening when I get down there, my system will be clean. So I go down Monday, of course, I end up having 4 random piss tests. I take the piss test. And at this point, I'm already in the probation verification proceedings. So the whole week, I'm like, oh my God, I hope this piss test doesn't come back dirty. So I get a call the following week. My probation officer's like, hey, I need you to come down. I need to speak with you regarding some things, blah, blah, blah. And so now I'm like, oh, okay, this is not good. So I go down and I'm completely honest with her. For the first time in my life, I started to get honest. And she says, well, why did you drink? And I was honest. I said, well, I was going through some things. My anxiety got out of whack. And I just drank. It's just like, well, do you have a plan to prevent this in the future? And I can't really tell her what's up. So I go to court 2 days later. I'm not expecting to really go to jail. I don't know why it wasn't, but they locked me up. And for the first time in my life, I didn't try to play the victim role when I got locked up. I knew exactly why I was locked up. I knew if I wouldn't have been testing with the beer, I wouldn't have went to the liquor. So I finally make the admission that, okay, I got a problem and that I can't drink. I cannot drink like normal people. Like there's no questions about it. And I basically said, my family's praying, I'm praying, and I was like, God, just give me one more chance. And I get out of jail, or I did get out of jail, but they send Park Center over to assess me, and they want to send me directly to Choices, which is a halfway house treatment facility. And I told them no, I want to go to treatment. I need to go to treatment just because of how bad I know I was. I need that enclosed space, and I need all of that. So I go to treatment, and I've been sober ever since. And my sobriety date is 11/10 of 2019.
That's great. So, what was it like when you got sober?
Um, well, I got clean in jail, so I don't know. I really, when I was in jail, I knew I couldn't really get to it, so I didn't really have any like cravings or anything for it. I didn't really start developing cravings until like afterwards, of after I got out of jail, and I was already in Choices. That's when the obsession started kicking because I was on the anklet because they re-sentenced me to restoration court. So I was on the anklet for 6 more months, and I started getting the obsession starts to come back, and that's all I can think about. And it was right about that 90-day mark for me. And by the grace of God, I thank this man. I was down at ACCC, and he's an AA. I won't reveal names just to protect his anonymity, but um, he was the drug screen guy, and he was talking to me while I took my piss test, and he asked me how I was doing, and I was open and honest. And he says, "Well, just go home and pray for that obsession to be removed." So I went back to the happy house, and for like a month straight, I'm like, the whole time all this stuff is going through my head, I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying, and it's like it's not really getting any better, but I'm holding out some type of hope. And one day it was just like I realized I wasn't really thinking about it, I wasn't really worried about it, and I didn't really want it anymore. And during this time, I had several sponsors during this time too. I didn't really get my first solid sponsor until I was already a year clean. But I did learn some things from various people from both those sponsors during that time period. One of which I started to develop my own concept of God, because I was very much raised in the church, and raised on the belief that God doesn't love me for because of who I am, and which has to do more so with my sexuality. And today, I don't. I came to the realization that God created me exactly the way that I am, and that God loves me exactly the way that I am. And that concept of God seems to work for me. He's a much more gentle God. Yes, he's just, but he also shows grace and mercy because he knows each one of us internally, and he's inside of each and every one of us. He's able to be both around us and inside of us all at the same time. So yeah.
Going back just a little bit, how long were you in jail?
I was in jail for 45 days.
For not that long then.
Yeah.
What did it feel like for those 45 days? Was it a rough go at it?
Yeah, it was. I'm very much a person. I don't like my freedom taken away. Um, I didn't adjust very well. Time went by really slow. And I very much like to be and feel like I'm in somewhat of control. So for me to give up all control to somebody else, that's hard for me. And I think that was the hardest part was looking at it now is giving up my all my freedom, all my control over all my over my total environment besides just what goes on inside of my cell over to basically the jail system. That was probably the hardest part for me.
So what's life like nowadays for you? What do you do to keep yourself sober?
Um, so in the mornings I normally get up. I start my day with prayer every morning. If I feel led to, I'll read the daily reflections, I'll read the 24-hour day reading. Um, I'm on vacation right now back home in Birmingham. So lately what I've been falling into is after I do all that, I'll reach out to a couple of alcoholics just to connect for a little bit. And then I'll get up and I'll get my day going. That's normally how I start my day every day. And I just have that alone time and quiet time with God to kind of just talk to God and meditate.
So is there anything specific you do throughout the day that keeps you sober?
Yes. You know, when I recognize a thought or something is not something that I possibly could have had, I say thank you. I'll always give God thanks. Um, I know if I'm not perfect at it, but I try to stop and ask for direction or reach out to somebody if I'm feeling a certain type of way. So I always try to seek out that guidance and direction and figure out what's the next right thing if I'm unsure of it.
Gotcha. So my last question to you is, do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
Um, I would definitely say come in with an honest mind. Basically, the essentials to recovery: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Um, because that's exactly what it takes.
Say that one more time. You broke up a little bit.
Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness.
Gotcha.
Because that's basically what it takes. One of my character defects is I don't like to take constructive criticism from anybody or accept advice from anybody because I seem to think I know it all. Which, if you think about it, is me playing God. So for me, what I found to be crucial in recovery is just always maintaining that open-mindedness, which is basically the antidote to that character defect, or how I turn that character defect into an asset. And that's turned out to be crucial for me. Crucial, crucial, crucial.
Take those one at a time. So you said the first one's honesty.
Yes.
What do you do specifically to stay honest? Is there anything like you check yourself throughout the day, or what do you do?
Um, I try to when I'm making plans or I am especially big life plans, I try to check my motivations. Um, make sure that I'm not coming from a place of just purely selfishness, self-centeredness, or that I'm coming from a place of fear or resentment. Um, yeah, that's about it.
So you said the next one was willingness,
Open-mindedness.
open-mindedness. So what do you do to stay open-minded? To keep an open mind, I should say.
When I'm listening, even if I don't think it's something that's pertinent to me, I try to keep it at the back of my head, just in case it turns out that it's something that is useful. Um, and if it is, then I take the action necessary to make it happen. Because it's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is very much a program of action. So I can't say I'm open-minded and keep something at the back of my head and then say, well, I'm just not going to do that because I don't want to. So even if I don't want to do it, I think it might be a waste of my time. I do it anyway.
And what was the last one?
Willingness.
So willingness to do what?
Willingness when things are hard or I'm going through a tough decision to pick up that phone and call another alcoholic or call another addict. Willingness to call my sponsor when I think I have some grandiose plan. Sometimes that's proven to be a crucial check on me. willingness sometimes to go to a meeting even when I don't want to. Willingness to utilize those steps on a daily basis to keep myself in check, especially that 10th step. That 10th step was that fourth and the 10th step is a crucial check to keep yourself accountable. Because to me, it's crucial to keep yourself the utmost accountability is keeping yourself accountable to God, but it's also keeping yourself accountable to you. So if you don't keep yourself accountable, then I mean, the accountability that you're getting from everybody else is not going to really mean much. So
That's great. It sounds like AA is really working for you.
yes, it is.
So let me ask you something. What did it take for you to recognize there was a higher power?
I think I've always known that there was a higher power and always believed in the concept of God. I just didn't have a personal relationship with it.
Okay,
And I lost that somewhere along the way.
gotcha. So yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. How do you feel?
Oh man, I feel great. I hope I help some people.
No, yeah, definitely. That's something that I hear from a lot of people, and it does. People do reach out to me and say that, they relate to stories and things like that. They think it's a cool concept what we're doing here. So I should thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, no problem. Anything to help another alcoholic or addict.
That's great. I really appreciate your spirit and soul.
All right, thank you.
All right, so hang tight. For everybody watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below, give us a like. Also subscribe. You'll see when we upload new videos. You can also check us out at Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, and TikTok. We also are part of a few others, but those are the main ones. And also check out our website, www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you'll find plenty of resources along with a lot of approved literature that we have available for free. That's all I have for today, and until next time.